voice of women in sport.
Hi, and welcome to the fourth episode of Behind the Blocks. I'm your host, two-time Olympic swimmer, Caitlin Sandino. Make sure to follow us on social media at Caitlin Sandino and at Wisp Sports. We have an amazing podcast for you today, but first, a word from our sponsor. Dive into summer and enjoy it to the fullest. Cheer on your family Olympians and keep the members of your team diving, swimming, and just having summer fun with Highlands Earache Drops. Highlands wants to make sure your summer fun isn't ruined by ear pain. Highlands Earache Drops provide natural relief from pain, fever, irritability, and occasional sleeplessness associated with earaches. Highlands has been trusted by generations to provide safe, homeopathic medicines for everyone in your family. After you've been diagnosed by a physician, try Highlands homeopathic earache drops or tablets. Earache drops are available at CVS stores. To learn more, go to highlands.com/ear. That's HYLANDS. Highlands.com/ear. Claims are based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence. Not FDA evaluated. Always read and follow label directions. It is with much joy and excitement to introduce today's guest. She was just 14 years old when she qualified for her first Olympic Games and walked away as the second youngest swimmer in history to medal with 1 gold and 2 silvers. That was just the beginning to her very successful career in the pool and out. She went on to make the next 3 Olympic Games, competing in a total of 4 Olympics where she earned 7 Olympic medals, 2 golds, 4 silver, and 1 bronze. She has collected a total of 21 medals in major international competitions, a former world and American record holder, NCAA champ, received American Swimmer of the Year award not once, but twice, 8 U.S. national titles, and served as Team USA's Olympic swim team captain twice. Not only did she shine in the water, she graced the pages of countless sports and lifestyle magazines as a model, brand representative, as well as a nonprofit advisor. Now a mother of 2, wife, motivational speaker, businesswoman, and author of a New York Times bestseller, In the Water They Can't See You Cry, and not to mention co-founder of Beard Swim Co. Everybody, the one and only Amanda Beard. Amanda, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me on Behind the Blocks.
But of course, I wouldn't miss it for anything in the world, Caitlin. Love getting to hang out with you.
I know. So Amanda and I go way back from basically our towns, neighbored each other. So fortunately, I would have to race you from time to time.
Oh, that was the best though, because we grew up competing against each other in high school. So it was, everyone probably thinks that's pretty extreme and bizarre, 2 Olympians racing each other in high school, but there are all these Olympians in Southern California racing each other.
I know, seriously.
But it would be fun because it was like, I feel like we weren't really competitive. Like we weren't really always had to face each other. We had one event that sometimes we raced. Otherwise, so it was more of a lighthearted fun to be able to be like, I'll get you. And the only thing I could swim on the IM that I could kind of compete against you with was the breaststroke leg. So everything else you could totally kick my butt on. But fun stuff.
Remember your dad used to be like, oh my gosh, they're dancing behind the blocks together again.
We're so serious, so serious.
Very, very serious. But what I'll never forget though, Amanda, is that I wasn't really huge into swimming at a young age, but I don't even really remember watching the Olympics. But when you competed in 1996 and I saw you on TV and I was like, whoa, she's only a year older than me. She's 14 years old and she's racing in the Olympics. That absolutely blew me away. And I don't think I've even ever asked you this, as your friend, what was that like for you? Being that young and being on that stage, what was that like?
So I try to answer that question all the time, and it's a hard one for me just because I can't remember things that well from that age. It's kind of like I was just so young that everything is just, a lot of my memories are from other people telling me stories. But I do remember, um, really trying to figure out how I fit into the swimming world at that age. I was really tiny. I was still very immature and naive. I didn't have the same maturity level as the girls that were 15 and 16 on the team. The 20-year-olds were, I mean, I'm like the little sister, the annoying little sister who wants to hang out with me. So I found myself like really kind of meshing the best with the oldest people on the team, who then kind of treated me like I was like a child to them and trying to help me. But it was overwhelming, yet not, just because I think I was too young to understand what I was doing. I was just kind of like, yeah, Olympics, this is fun, cool.
I know you said you don't have like really vivid memories, and I'm kind of the same way, but what would you say stands out the most from your first games?
Well, I think, I have all these like little clips that kind of pop into my memory, like things like the Olympic Village and staying in there. And I just actually was going through a bunch of photographs, and I photographed everything. Like I thought everything was amazing. Like there was a wall in our like dorm rooms that were just cases of water, and I had to photograph that. Whoa, look at all this water. And then look, someone put a decorated sign on my door. That's amazing. Take a picture of that. Like everything was like, but it was all such small things. Like I wasn't, what didn't have to be these big, amazing things to like make me think that this was such a cool moment. I was like, oh my gosh, I got a Cabbage Patch Kid for free. Oh, this is so amazing. Like, wait a second. There's much bigger things going on, but I was pumped on the cases of water that we got for free.
I just think that just is so, it's very refreshing. It's like, look, that shows a 14-year-old, right? Like, it's almost like quote unquote cute. Like, that's so cute of you. I think, I know this, and I know you get asked this a ton, but I'd be remiss to ask, obviously the iconic teddy bear. What was the significance behind that? And where is the teddy bear now?
Oh, the teddy bear is actually sitting like 20 feet away from me, and it's like in a plastic like case, so it doesn't. My dad has it all like preserved.
Oh.
But it's actually a really cool story. Before I went to the 1996 Olympic trials, it was given to me as a gift, a good luck gift. And it was a teddy bear and had a matching parka, like the parka I would be wearing. But the person who gave it to me, her name was Danielle, and she actually is Jason Lezak's wife now.
Stop it. I did not know that. Oh my gosh.
I know. So, I mean, we're swinging on a team together, and I was good friends with Danielle, and her mom made the parka for the bear, and they gave it to me as a present. And it was kind of at trials, it was more of a dare from my sisters to take it out to the blocks with me, just because I was getting a lot of attention for being so young, and I looked even younger than I was. So I was like the punk little 14-year-old. Yeah, I'll take it out to the blocks with me. I'll show them, and I carried it out, and then the teddy bear became its own little like celebrity going everywhere. But I thought it was just cool because Jason Lezak obviously went on to win a bunch of medals and become a great Olympic athlete himself, and we'll always have that connection with him and his family and his wife. So that's pretty cool.
I can't believe for as long as I've known you, and as well as I know Jason and Danielle, I didn't know that. I love that. And could you imagine like if social media existed while this was happening? I feel like the teddy bear would have had its own like Instagram page. It was that famous.
It would have for sure more followers than I would ever have. It's way more interesting than I am.
Did you name him?
Yes, actually we named him Harold. So we call him Harry the Bear. But here's another really funny story about Harold the Bear. So in high school, I hung out with all like the skater and surfer boys, and they thought it'd be real fun to kidnap my bear. So they kidnapped him. They took tons of Polaroids, and they were sending these Polaroids to me of the poor bear in like these situations that basically looked like the bear was not going to make it through the situation, and kind of holding him for ransom. And I was getting so mad because I think I had to send it to like New York for a photo shoot. I'm like, I'm serious, you guys, please give it back. I need the bear. Don't mess with him.
See, literally, this bear is iconic. I love it. Now, wait, were you going into your sophomore year of high school?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, going into your sophomore year of high school. So you get back after the 96 Olympics. What is high school like that sophomore year?
Honestly, sort of strange to start off, and then it kind of just went back into normal. I hate at that age, especially. Not, I've gotten better at it, but I hated attention and like large crowds and stuff like that. So, the very first day of my sophomore year in high school, my principal actually arranged for a Bentley to come pick me up, like a really old Bentley, to then drop me off at the front of school with the whole school and news cameras and stuff in front of the school. And I went to a school that had 3,000 kids. That was a giant amount of kids. Yeah. And I just started bawling my eyes out. And I think they started to realize really quickly, like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this to this poor child. But I try, like, I credit myself for being really great. Like, I pretended I wasn't crying over the whole situation. That I was just overwhelmed with emotion by how sweet it was.
So grateful.
Yeah.
So grateful.
Thank you so much, everybody. But I was embarrassed. I'm a sophomore. I'm not a senior. I'm not like the big, dog on campus or anything like that. I'm like the pipsqueak. And so just let me blend in. Let me blend.
Now, were you still fired up on swimming, or did you have that kind of post-Olympic blues, or I don't know if I want to do this? Like, where were you mentally, and what motivated you? Because obviously you go on to compete in many more Olympic games, but that's a big span. Like, what were you like motivation-wise in the sport, the rest of high school?
Yeah. So I think the 2 to 3 years after the 96 Olympics were probably some of my hardest, like mentally and physically, years of my swimming career for a couple of reasons. One, before the 96 Olympics, I was tiny. I was 5'2". I think I was like 95 pounds. And then I went through puberty. I grew to 5'8". I went to like 125, 130 pounds. And as a swimmer too, like you basically are now retraining yourself to swim in the water because you've lost your feeling. You feel very different. You're carrying extra weight. And swimming is a feeling-based sport. If you don't feel good in the water, it's really hard to just kind of muscle your way through it and just kind of just continue to push yourself. So for about 2 or 3 years, that's how I felt. Is I grew so much. I felt really awkward in the water. I felt like I was supposed to always be winning, always, performing and being on the stage and showing people like an Olympic performance. They would come to swim meets. They want to see something great. And I wasn't giving that to them because I felt awful in the pool. I was still swimming fine. I was okay, but it wasn't to the level of, I think, I felt like I should be at, and what I felt like I deserved to show people I could be at. Where I should be winning first places, I was getting, 16th or whatever. And that was really hard for me mentally, just to kind of, to go through that. I just got completely sick of it, and I was just like, this isn't fun anymore. I hate this. So I did quit swimming for a while, but
I didn't know that. What? When?
Yeah. Well, I think I was about a junior in high school. I quit. I was going through a lot. I broke my wrist and I was frustrated with my performance. I was just like overwhelmed. I struggle like in school. So I was very overwhelmed with school and trying to keep my grades up and just feeling like, I think the typical high schooler with just drama with high school and feeling like I was socially missing out on things because, we train, that's all we do. So I just met my max that I could handle for being a teenager. And I quit, but quickly realized that, that without swimming in my life, I was extremely bored. And finally, found my way back to the pool. I only quit for a couple of months and found my way back quickly and rediscovered my love pretty quickly for it, and changed how I looked at it as less of just like performing and more just hanging out with my friends. Like we had a great team. I loved my coach, like I trained with Aaron Pearsall and Jason Leza. I mean, we were goofy. We were so goofy and we had so much fun and we were super competitive. Like it was just a great environment. And so I really focused on the people that were around me and less on just like me and my performance, which helped me a lot.
Right. I really appreciate you being so open and honest about that, because I feel like people look at athletes with success at a young age and like, oh, lucky them, like how great it must be. And, it's a double-edged sword, right? It's like, yeah, this is great to have success at a young age, but you're walking around with a target on your back at such a young age. And then it puts all this pressure on you when you're just trying to be a high schooler, which is hard enough as it is. And so I just think it's really important that, that young audience or, parents listening to this know that, yeah, it's great and all, but it's not always the best to hurry to success, right? I mean,
Yeah.
not like you probably begrudge going to that or whatnot, but there's definitely the drawbacks as well. So thank you just for being so open and honest. And I just think, it makes it a little bit more relatable, when we can be that organic with everybody and say, it was hard. It wasn't easy. And it does suck walking around being famous essentially at a young age. And it's just all that pressure. How do you feel your parents did with you having success at a young age? Because I think, we can't forget about them too. It's a lot on them.
It is a lot. And now, I have my own kids, so I get to kind of experience that. My son's an amazing baseball player. So I'm trying to almost mimic how my parents were with me as how I'm trying to treat him. And my parents were amazing. My mom could care less about sports. So she just was like, I think our parents are fairly similar to Caitlin, but my mom was just like, oh, you're so cute, looking great out there. I'm like, Mom, I lost. I added 20 seconds in a 50. No, Mom. And then my dad is, he's athletic. He played sports through college. He loves it. He was at every practice watching and super into it, but it never felt like I was getting pressure from him. Like it just felt like support from him. Never. Cause when we walked away from the swimming pool, it wasn't like, okay, how'd you feel about that practice? And how were your splits on this? And we didn't sit around the dinner table and talk about swimming. And I think that was really important because my parents didn't make my whole identity as being a swimmer. I existed to them on such a bigger level, and everything else mattered to them about me just as much as my swimming. So I felt like they just did a wonderful job of just being there for the things that I needed, getting to practices, making sure that I'm getting the food that I need, like basically getting completely spoiled, like dry towels, all that kind of stuff. But not like the knit, whatever you call that, like just kind of nagging about, oh, you didn't do this well enough. And this didn't look right. One, I think because my dad, if you ever watch him swim in the pool, he knows he's not going to give advice on it, So I always joke like with my son's like baseball coaches and like, hey, you're the coach. Like I know sports, love sports, but for me to tell my son how to hold a baseball bat, no, thank you. I'm mom. I'm mom in the stands, and I've got granola bars and lots of drinks for everybody.
See, that's so perfect. And I think that's what we need to keep promoting is that coaches coach and parents parent. And I just, like our involvement, because, funny story, Amanda and I's niece and nephew are actually on the same swim team now in Southern California. And I know, right? I just love it. Like she's wearing a beard cap and my nephew's wearing a Santa Diego cap. Like how cute is that? You see it like parents kind of having this, this terrible, almost like stereotype that they ruin youth sports. But if they would just be more concerned about parenting and just loving their child, that's how they're going to most help them succeed in the pool. So it's so refreshing to hear that was what your parents are like. Obviously I already knew that, but for our listeners out there, I can't stress enough, just encouraging your child with just unconditional love, because as Amanda shared and I shared, like then you have no fear of failure, right? Because you don't feel like you're going to let your parents down.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure too, like you see all the time, like, people jumping from team to team to team in all sports, right? Like, well, this isn't working. This is coach, and they jump to the next thing. Like, I, you're not gonna, there's always gonna be something wrong. You're not gonna always agree with how a coach coaches or this or that. So you just gotta kind of, I always said I was only successful in my sport because I 100% respected my coach, and I made sure that they knew that, right? And it had to not just come from me, but it had to come from my family, my parents as well. Like, we respect you. We understand, like, and Dave Salo was my coach from a very young age. And when he first kind of jumped on the scene, everyone had something to say about how he coached and how he trained his athletes. So it would have been really easy for us, my parents, to be like, we're jumping ship. We're going to go over here because this is how this is supposed to be. But my parents saw that I was having fun and enjoying the process and being there. And the grass is not always greener on the other side. You can't just keep jumping around. But yeah, I mean, you get enough as a young athlete, you have enough stress put on you from your peers, your coaches, everything around you. The last thing that you need to do is have a home where you continue to feel that stress and pressure. So I always felt like that needs to be your safe haven, where how you performed and what sports were like, what didn't exist within your household.
Right. Absolutely. Well, so you take a little bit of a break, but you get back into the groove about junior year, senior year rolls around, and then you have to be probably the top recruit in the nation. How did you decide on University of Arizona, and what was that transition to college like for you?
Well, that's a great question. Yes, I will. I was pretty picky, to be honest. And I was, a Southern California girl. I was like, I'm staying in California. That's it. So I think most other colleges, I had a couple East Coast colleges and some other places reach out, and I probably quickly, and recruiting was different back then. They didn't, there wasn't so many ways to get in contact with you. So, they'd have to call your home phone. so, so that actually was quite nice, but I only ended up taking 3 recruiting trips. You're allowed to take 5. So I took 3. I went to Cal Berkeley, UCLA, and University of Arizona. I loved them all. It was funny though, because my University of Arizona recruiting trip, it was Halloween weekend, which is also my birthday weekend. And I told the coach, who was Frank Bush at the time, I said, okay, I'll come out this weekend, but I'm leaving early. Like, I cut my recruiting trip early. And so it was a shorter trip, and it kind of made him worried that I was not very serious about that trip. And when I was out there, I didn't talk to anybody, and I was extremely shy, which I can be in when I'm not, like, around a lot of people that I know. I get kind of become an introvert to some sorts. And so when I left that recruiting trip, I remember Frank telling the whole team, nope, she's not coming here. I think she hated it. So we'll just forget about that one. But he called me that week after, and I was talking to him on the phone, and he said, so what did you think? I said, I had a blast. I thought it was fantastic. And he was like, what? You did? And I was like, yeah, I loved it. I loved campus. I loved the athletics there. I loved the team. And I said, I'm going to come. And he's like, okay. So I verbally committed over the phone, and I hung up, and I go in the living room where my dad is. I'm like, I'm going to Arizona. And he's like, wait, what? Like, no conversations with my parents about it. Nothing. I basically went off of how I felt when I was there, and I loved it. And I didn't really think I was going to be a U of A girl, go away from California, but it was probably, I feel like a perfect choice for me.
Well, obviously, because then you have a great freshman year, and then you qualify for your second Olympic team.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, right. So this started off college really nicely. Now, 2000 Olympics, we were teammates. Obviously, so surreal to be in Australia, where they just absolutely just worship the sport, really. What are your fondest memories from the 2000 games?
Me and you dancing to really horrible rap music, and I remember everyone fighting over who their roommates were. And, um, but honestly, things like that, like I remember, yeah, swimming, all that kind of stuff. But it's the fun moments. Like because we lived in the Olympic Village in Sydney was a community basically, and so they transformed these houses into like a dormitory. So I lived in half of a garage, and so I was living in a garage with, and the beds are not that comfortable, so tiny little beds, and you get a sheet. It's just like your warmth. But walking around, and you'll be like on the Olympic Village bus, and you'll see like some basketball player who's 7 feet tall sitting on the bus next to you, and you're like, hey, going to the food court, all right. So things like that, getting lost in Australia, trying to figure out public transportation there, and just kind of trying to have fun with it all, and going to parties after the swimming competition's over, and just everyone finally allowed to kind of let their hair down and enjoy, have some fun after all the stress and pressure and being confined into tiny rooms for weeks and weeks and weeks just training. But honestly, it's one of my biggest memories from Sydney is it's like that, the song that I'm talking about too. I think it's like, I'm not going to sing it because I'm gonna embarrass myself, but there was one song that I swear we played over and over and over again and just danced and were completely silly with. So that's my biggest memory.
I think that's what's so refreshing. Like, that's what you were remembering. Like, you don't even bring up a race or a medal or anything. And it's like, you're talking about like, the memories and the teammates that you shared. And I just, again, it's just like how you were raised and what was important to you. And something that, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this is kind of when your modeling career took off. Would you say that in 2004 or 2000 going into, right?
Okay. So I hate that. It's always so embarrassing.
Come on, own it. But it shouldn't be. It was like the first of our sport to see, for me, which was so cool. I never saw swimmers as models. And then it's like, here you are doing that. And somebody I feel so like I know so well. And I just think it was inspiring. We had a guest on last week that talked about the stereotypical body images that we have for athletes and that we're just trying to embrace it now. But I feel like you were breaking that barrier years ago, but you were kind of like the only female swimmer for quite some time to do that. I think it's awesome. Own it.
Well, okay. Well, I think I don't even know how all that kind of stuff happened, but I ended up giving up my scholarship and my eligibility to compete in NC2As after my sophomore year. So basically after we competed in NC2As in 2000, I can't remember, 2001 or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah.
And it was like kind of one of those things where I was like, okay, now what? And it just, I always think I wasn't booked on things like to shoot different stuff as like a model. I was booked on things because I was a swimmer and the swimming the things that I earned in the pool. So that's how I always kind of looked at those things. And, but I mean, goodness gracious, like I had meltdowns on so many different, sets where we were doing different photo shoots and stuff. I'd be in the bathroom bawling my eyes out, just like so, insecure and nervous about what, like, I'm a swimmer. I've like broad shoulders and like I have muscles and stuff. And they would bring other models onto sets to shoot other things, and they're teeny tiny, and just I felt I was always kind of comparing myself to them. So it was always kind of this like emotional roller coaster for me doing all that stuff. Looking back at it, I wish I had a little more fun with it. I think I just took it a little too seriously and criticized myself too much about all that kind of stuff. Because now, going through all the different magazines and stuff like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so hilarious. This is amazing. This is awesome. And now I'm this wrinkled old mom. So I should have enjoyed the moment a little bit more. But I mean, I did. I absolutely had some fun moments, but I had some complete meltdown moments as well.
And why did you decide to go pro after 2 years at U of A, which I think you're starting to see is a little bit more popular for the higher ranked swimmers? Like, okay, I'm going to get a little bit of a college experience, but then I'm going to strike when the iron's hot and go pro. What was that turning point for you?
Well, I think it was as much of a thought out decision as it was for me to go to the University of Arizona, where I just was like, "Hey, let's do this." um, the person that I was dating at the time was actually a professional athlete, and so it kind of watching him and what he was doing kind of encouraged me to maybe try that as well. And I felt like I was in a position where I did 2 years of competing in college, so I knew exactly what I was giving up and sacrificing. So I don't think I would ever have made that decision in high school because I value those 2 years that I swam at U of A as part of the team so much. But I just felt like it was the next right moment in my career. It might have been a little premature because I gave up my eligibility after winning a bronze medal at an Olympics. It wasn't like I came home with 10 golds and 50 world records, but I was like, yeah, sure. But I just kind of wanted to go for it. I just felt like it's something in the universe was telling me that it was the right moment to go for it and do it. And that was my decision.
Now, do you think you were more motivated after you did that, or did you kind of lack the motivation because you didn't have like that college environment pushing you? What was your motivation like between 2000 and 2004?
Well, I was lucky enough to be able to continue to train at the University of Arizona, and we ended up having a really big pro team that trained there. So to me, not a lot changed. I wasn't a part of the team. I didn't get to compete. I did actually compete in dual meets because we'd have exhibition races, things like that. But I wasn't competing. I wasn't completely embedded in the team like I was before. And I think it was an adjustment period for sure, because now you have sponsors and contract obligations. And I'm trying to still be a full-time student, but I'm missing so many classes. And so it was definitely an adjustment period. It took me about a year or so to kind of figure out my new groove of that. But now you have a whole different world that kind of opens up to you. I was going to a lot more meets around the world and competing more internationally, which I thought was, I mean, gosh, I got to go fly all over. I mean, just to go swim in a pool, that's pretty darn cool. Let's do that. Like, you're going to fly me to Italy for a week to swim 2 races? Absolutely, I'll be there.
So it's just different. Like, I mean, the life of a pro, you're almost like more grateful that you're like, what, you want me to do that for like a swim meet? Like, okay, it's this, I think it's just different in America than it is in Europe, right? It's just maybe celebrated a little bit differently, or the opportunities are obviously a lot different. But it's changing and it's evolving. Whenever I think of 2004 Olympic Games, Amanda, in Athens, Greece, like, you're like in 90% of my memories.
Oh no.
But like, amazing. So I want to touch on Athens. I mean, you have so many Olympics to talk about, but first of all, I mean, how cool to be like where it all started. And remember, like, our rooming situation, what was it? Like one big suite with 4 bedrooms and 2 in each room. So it was me and Diana Munns and you and Maritza Karaya. And then like one bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, our bathroom door used to always get stuck, and we'd get like stuck inside the bathroom. We're like, guys, come me out of the bathroom. Do you remember that?
I talk about that bathroom all the time because it was like, here, and we're swimmers, so we have to shave down. And so we have a tiny bathroom, and it's very like European style bathroom with like the drain in the middle. And it's just, and we're shaving our entire bodies down. And there's like 10 of us or something that need to share this one tiny bathroom. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna go out with a bucket and shave my legs in a bucket in the Olympic Village out and just wave to everybody speed walking around. But
everybody thinks the Olympic Village is so glamorous, and it's not that. It's not. I mean, it's like an experience like no other, but it's really not. You remember the small beds and like you said, like a paper thin sheet. Oh man, the guys' legs would be hanging off the end of the beds.
Yeah, they don't even fit on their beds. But I talk about that too, and then I'm like, well, but we are also very, very spoiled as well as being American athletes, because we had all this staff and all these managers, and they're like, you guys are chilly. And they'd run out and buy like all these comforters and sleeping bags for us. Like, oh, my foot hurts. Well, let me rub that for you. Like
So well taken care of.
yeah, I mean, kind of ridiculous. Like you kind of hint that you need something, and they're like, we'll buy you 50. We're on it. But yes, it wasn't like we are not staying in some luxurious hotels. And for some people it was probably an adjustment. For some people it was probably quite an upgrade, to be honest, from their other situations that they're in. So I mean, free food and whatever you can kind of get at, but that darn bathroom, I always think about it and like, goodness gracious.
And I love too, because you were sponsored by Red Bull, and I remember you had cases that they sent to you in Red Bull in your room. That's when I first got introduced to Red Bull. I was like, thank you, Amanda. No. I'm taking one of these, and no wonder I swam so well.
But I hear everyone go spaz out.
What can you pinpoint your most memorable moment from those games?
Oh my goodness. Oh, gracious. Well, I thought it was really fun. Like, I liked the Olympic Village in there. I felt like we were like closer to other swimmers and athletes that we knew. Weren't there a bunch of stray dogs running around too? And I was just a really unique experience. Like, I remember it wasn't finished, and I thought that was so cool. Of course they probably didn't think it was great that the Olympic Village wasn't finished, but they're still paving sidewalks and doing landscaping, and I just thought it was so fun and interesting. And I thought just we got to go out. It was me and you and some other people, and like we had entertainment tonight or something following us around with TV cameras, and we did like a pre-hangout with like these amazing views of Athens, and then they followed us to the club, and it's like, who are we right now? I just remember like, all right, yeah, this is cool, but I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't dance, I'm a swimmer, like I'm gonna sit awkwardly in the corner. That's exciting TV.
Every time I ask you for Olympic memories, they have nothing to do with swimming.
I mean, I could come up with some swimming ones.
But I just feel like, there's just always so many different types of athletes. There's some people that would be like, oh, they'll give you a specific race and know their splits and know their times. And then there's other people,
I mean, I don't know any of my times or splits, Caitlin. I have no idea.
I know. I love it. But you were 22 at that Olympics, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then after you're done in 2004, did it ever cross your mind, like, it's been a good run, I'm done? Or was it always like, all right, let's go. Well, let's make 2008.
I think it was kind of like, all right, let's go.
Wow.
But things kind of picked up a lot in my career outside of the pool. And that was making it really hard for me to train the way that you need to be able to train to perform at that level. So I know that was tricky. And I think that's what kind of, made it a little bumpier over the next couple of years, but I mean, not that bumpy. It was still fun and fine. But I always kind of was like, well, when I got presented with certain opportunities, and I was like, well, I know I'm going to miss a couple practices, but will I ever get this opportunity again? So it's like trying to like weigh out like the memories and experiences, and I don't know. I just kind of wanted to have fun too, and not have I was very serious about my swimming, and I loved training, but I wanted to have a balance in my life as well.
Right. More to life than just swimming, which you said, started from your parents, right?
Absolutely.
When they were raising you, you're going to be more than just a swimmer. What years, or like between which Olympics do you think was the hardest for you to kind of like bounce back or get back into the groove? Was it when you were younger or when you got older?
Definitely. I think when I was younger, I think I just mostly because like just emotionally, I wasn't as mentally tough when I was younger. I was a lot harder on myself when I was younger. And so, I really cared a lot about what every single person thought about me when I was younger. Whereas I started to get older, I kind of wanted to be like, live who live the way I should be and wanted to be, and not really the way that I felt like people told me that I was supposed to be living my life. So when I was younger, I was just too influenced by, my peers mostly.
Yeah. So you make the 2008 Olympic Games. Then you're like, I'm still not done. I'm going to go for 2012. I mean, I just like your career is just incredible. I just couldn't imagine for staying at that high of a level for so long. You go to trials in 2012 and you place fifth, right?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
breast?
Yep.
Two breast. And then were you like, okay, this has been great, I'm done? Or what was your head like at that moment when you're like, okay, this is the first time in like 20 years I haven't made an Olympic team?
Yeah.
How was that like to process, and how was that transition?
Well, I think after trials in 2012, that was emotionally hard for me. The last time I watched an Olympics on the TV from my home was 1992 when I was 10 years old. So it was like one of those moments. So I decided, I'd be in Southern California with all my family. We watched some Olympics, but I was focused on like my nieces and hanging out with them and just being a really good aunt, and just kind of not completely focusing on what was going on there, because I didn't want to get into this, like, I didn't want to get super depressed because I wasn't there swimming as well. I wanted to just kind of just enjoy where I was in that day and time. But I didn't feel like I was done after 2012. But my son was born in 2009. And then
that's a big one. I forgot. Jeez, big milestone, Caitlin. Way to do your research.
So I had a lot of distractions, and then we decided to have another little shrimpy. And my daughter was born in 2013. So I had a lot of distractions. And after 2013, I was like, yeah, I'll keep swimming. Sure, why not? I'll train. I'll try for 2016. And I started to go back and swim. I was living up in Washington State. I was training up here, and I just was like, I like being in the pool and I like swimming and training, but I lost my complete edge, like, of what I wanted. Like, I just felt like, what am I doing? What am I trying to prove? Like, I felt like there was, I trained for about 6 months, and I was like, I don't think I care. I don't think I care to do this anymore, and my husband and my kids sacrifice a lot while I'm training. I'm exhausted out of my mind, and I'm hungry all the time, and I'm flying around places and competing. I'm up early. I'm not the easiest to be around when I'm in full training mode. And I just was like, I think it's time for me to reevaluate what I want in life. And I don't think it's to try to prove something that I don't think I have to prove. So that's where we kind of reevaluate, like, changes like our path of what we wanted to kind of achieve and goals. And because I always think you don't have to be an athlete to have goals. You set goals in all sorts of your life and what you want to do. And so that's, kind of went down that path.
So you were just ready for that new chapter. Absolutely. I mean, I can't believe I forgot that he was born while you were still training. I mean, that's just another accomplishment. And I can't even wrap my head around, like you said, it's a lot. It's a full-time job to be a athlete, and it's a full-time job to be a mom, from what I see and hear, and to be able to juggle both of those for quite some time. And you met your husband at a photo shoot, correct?
I did, at a Speedo photo shoot. That was fun.
I love that. And so it's like the worlds collided and everything was meant to be. And, you started writing a new chapter with your family, but then also, speaking of chapters, writing your book. What was that like for you? Because I mean, you got really open and honest, and like, people are like, oh, wow. Like she had some high highs and some low lows. How long did that process take you of writing the book? And what was it that motivated you to do that?
I don't know. I mean, you've written a book, so you probably have your own experiences with this, but I thought it was like for me, it was really hard. I had a friend, her name's Karen Kraus, and she was a writer. You probably know her. She wrote for the OC Register, and then she's out for like the New York Times or something. I mean, she's a phenomenal writer.
Big time.
Yeah, she followed my career and was always writing stuff. She flew out to Tucson, Arizona and stayed with me for about a week. And we were just sitting on my couch for like a week and just talking. And I was just telling her everything, like almost therapy session. And she's writing everything down and recording stuff. She's like, this is a book. She's like, why are you not telling all of these things? And I was like, I don't know. And it kind of, we kind of planned it out together, and we talked a lot about it. And I said, well, if I'm doing a book, I'm going to put it all out there. Like, I'm not going to kind of half do it. I'm going to sure, I have medals and all these really cool things, but I have fallen down in the dumpsters and been smushed on, and the things that I thought about myself and the things I was doing to myself, like, I was a emotional wreck a lot of the times, but I came out on the other side, and I'm having a wonderful life. And I wanted athletes to know that it is so normal to have awful days, awful years. It doesn't determine how the rest of your life is going to be. And you can make changes to become a better version of yourself, to have a more positive life and lifestyle. And I just, I'm assuming you probably still do, like, where you speak to a lot of younger athletes or go do clinics or whatever. And I felt like I was, telling these kids these stories, and it was all, yeah, rainbow butterfly, unicorn flew by. And I was like, man, I'm just lying to them, because it was hard. There were hard moments. And no, I did not want to wake up at 4 a.m. in the mornings and jump in a freezing cold pool. No, I wasn't like waking up and pumped every single morning. So I wanted to just kind of have the real version of my life, I guess, put out there, and I felt like that was the way that I had to do it if I was going to do it. And then 3 years later and 3 writers later, we ended up with the book.
Wow. And how can people find your book and buy your book today?
I think you can go on Amazon and buy it. It's called In the Water They Can't See You Cry. And what I have heard, it's a fun read and a quick read.
Good. Well, you answered my next question without me even asking the question. I was going to ask you about swimmers that are struggling, but I love your perspective and how you summarize that. Like, things can change. And even though it's going to be hard, you're going to see better days, and you just kind of take ownership of that. And I think, in this time when there's a lot of downtime right now, I think getting your book would be excellent for a lot of our young athletes and parents out there. Just because I know you, and I just know you have so much words of wisdom and experiences, and you're so insightful. So I encourage all of our listeners out there to go get Amanda's book if you haven't already. Amanda, this is the grand finale of them all. The title of our the title of our podcast is Behind the Blocks. And you and I actually briefly touched on this earlier, but what were you like behind the blocks?
Well, I get that's a tricky question. If I'm behind the blocks with you, I'm a complete goof. Honestly, and I think you know this about me, I am not very good at being intimidating. Like, I am just way too much of a dork to try to intimidate people. But I do have that face. If I am not smiling, I look like I could hurt you. So I think behind the blocks, I'm however that person decides to interpret my face. So they could be really scared of me if I'm not smiling, or if it's, people that I know, we get a little too silly and probably almost have missed quite a few races. But those have been my best races. When I'm behind the blocks, I'm having fun, I'm being silly, I'm relaxed, and to be honest, I can't remember any sort of an outcome from any of those races, but I do remember having fun with those people and those memories behind the blocks. And I think that's what's actually ends up being important. So I'm just a mixed bag behind those blocks.
Oh my gosh. Oh, my friend, it's always so good to catch up with you. I cannot thank you enough for, I mean, I know things are so busy right now, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time, for sharing your amazing journey with us. I'm just so proud to know you and so grateful for everything that you did for me personally and for our sport. So thank you, Amanda.
Oh, absolutely. And I love hearing your voice and seeing everything that you're doing, because I think it's fantastic and awesome. And I follow your whole entire career because it keeps on blossoming. And I love that.
Thank you. Well, that's our show for this week. I can't thank my wonderful guest, Amanda Beard, enough. And to our sponsor, Highlands Earache Drops. Visit them at highlands.com/ear. Don't forget to follow and share on social media at Caitlin Sandino and at Whisk Sports. I'll be back in 2 weeks with multiple All-American sprinter for the University of Florida and now ISL Cali Condors standout, Natalie Hines. So until then, thanks for listening and helping us turn up the volume on women's sports.